3. We're actually going to skip through a few chapters away and just take a few bits from them. As we kind of follow the sweep of the story of Paul. And last couple of weeks ago, we'd seen Paul come back to Jerusalem with gifts for the church there, knowing that he might well be arrested because a lot of the Jewish people there were not happy with him. In fact, he was preaching that Jesus has come as the Messiah to not only save the Jews but also the Gentiles, which of course would then include their enemies and those who have persecuted and even occupied them. And so when you've been in the temple, some people have seen him and they all started shouting and getting wound up. And Paul had ended up being arrested by the Romans and was almost flogged. But then, so we're just going to come to the day after that. In verse 30 of chapter 22 of the book of Acts. The next day, since the commander wanted to find out exactly why Paul was being accused by the Jews, he released him and ordered the chief priests and all the Sanhedrin to assemble. And then he brought Paul and had him stand before them. Paul looked straight at the Sanhedrin and said, "My brothers, I fulfill my duty to God in all good conscience to this day." At this, the high priest Ananias ordered those standing near Paul to strike him on the mouth. Then Paul said to him, "God will strike you, you whitewashed wall. You sit there to judge me according to the law, yet you yourself violate the law by commanding that I be struck." Those who were standing near Paul said, "You dare to insult God's high priest?" Paul replied, "Brothers, I did not realize that he was high priest, for it is written, 'Do not speak evil about the ruler of the people.'" Then Paul, knowing that some of them were Sadducees and the others Pharisees, called out in the Sanhedrin, "My brothers, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee. I stand on trial because of my hope in the resurrection of the dead." When he said this, a dispute broke out between the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And these were kind of two sects of the teachers. And the assembly was divided. The Sadducees say that there is no resurrection and that there are neither angels nor spirits, but the Pharisees acknowledge them all. There was a great uproar, and some of the teachers of the law who were Pharisees stood up and argued vigorously. "We find nothing wrong with this man," they said. "What if a spirit or an angel has spoken to him?" The dispute became so violent that the commander was afraid Paul would be torn to pieces by them. He ordered the troops to go down and take him away from them by force and bring him into the barracks. The following night the Lord stood near Paul and said, "Take courage. As you have testified about me in Jerusalem, so you must also testify in Rome." The next morning, the Jews formed a conspiracy and bound themselves with an oath not to eat or drink until they had killed Paul. More than 40 men were involved in this plot. They went to the chief priests and elders and said, "We have taken a solemn oath not to eat anything until we have killed Paul. Now then, you and the Sanhedrin petition the commander to bring him before you on the pretext of wanting more accurate information about his case. We are ready to kill him before he gets here. But when the son of Paul's sister heard of this plot, he went into the barracks and told Paul. And then Paul called one of the centurions and said, "Take this young man to the commander, he has something to tell him." So rather than continue reading on to the next 3 chapters, I'm going to skip through some of it. But basically what then happens is that the Roman commander decides to send Paul away to Caesarea, which is where the Romans had their headquarters in the land. And he sent him really for Paul's protection and gave him an armed guard all the way to Caesarea, where he sent him to the governor, so the governor could kind of look at his case. And the governor was a guy called Felix, who was a bit of a sort of scrupulous politician. So Paul ends up being before Felix, and the Jews who were accusing Paul brought a lawyer, and they sort of alleged all sorts of things about him. And then, so we're going to pick up in chapter 24 and verse 10. When the governor motioned for Paul to speak, he replied, for a number of years you have been a judge over this nation, so I gladly make my defence. You can easily verify that no more than 12 days ago I went up to Jerusalem to worship. My accusers did not find me arguing with anyone at the temple, or stirring up a crowd in synagogues, or anywhere else in the city, and they cannot prove to you the charges they are now making against me. However, I admit that I worship the God of our fathers as a follower of the way, which they call a sect. I believe everything that agrees with the law and that is written in the prophets, and I have the same hope in God as these men, that there will be a resurrection with the righteous and the wicked. So I strive always to keep my conscience clear before God and man. After an absence of several years, I came to Jerusalem to bring my people gifts for the poor and to present offerings. I was ceremonially clean when they found me in the temple courts doing this. There was no crowd with me, nor was I involved in any disturbance. And it goes on from there, and Felix basically, who should have made some kind of decision, just leaves it. And he actually just leaves Paul in prison for 2 years without making any kind of judgment at all. Basically until he leaves. So Paul was for 2 years in the end of this chapter just waiting in prison, his life kind of passing by. Then there's in chapter 5 we get a new Roman governor who comes, and he's called Festus. And the Jews can ask him if they can continue with the trial of Paul because they want to punish him in a sense. But Festus sort of puts his foot down slightly and says, oh, okay, we'll have a trial to find out if he's actually guilty of anything. And so he listens to Paul, and then he calls in King Agrippa, who is a descendant of Herod, the kind of puppet king, because he thinks that Agrippa will be able to give him some advice, because they're all Jews, and in this Roman's eyes, they're all arguing about religion, and he doesn't really have a clue what to do about it. And so he gets Agrippa in, and he listens to Paul too. And so Paul goes on to kind of explain his story and how he became a Christian and how he met Jesus on the road to Damascus. And we get down to verse 24. At this point, Festus interrupted Paul's defence. You're out of your mind, Paul, they shouted. Your great learning is driving you insane. I'm not insane, most excellent Festus, Paul replied. What I am saying is true and reasonable. The king is familiar with these things, and I can speak freely to him. I am convinced that none of this has escaped his notice, because it was not done in a corner. King Agrippa, do you believe the prophets? I know you do. Then Agrippa said to Paul, do you think that in such a short time you can persuade me to be a Christian? Maybe some of you have heard someone say that. Paul replied, short time or long, I pray God that not only you, but all who are listening to me today may become what I am, except for these chains. And down in verse 32, Agrippa said to Festus, this man could have been set free. But Paul had appealed to Caesar, so he then gets sent to Rome by a boat, still a prisoner. And this all takes some time, and it's getting on towards winter. I hope you're following this today. You've got to concentrate, because there's a lot of stuff happening to Paul here. So we're down to verse 9 of chapter 27. Much time had been lost. Sailing had already become dangerous. So Paul warned them, men, I can see that our voyage is going to be disastrous and bring great loss to ship and cargo, and to our own lives also. But the centurion, instead of listening to what Paul said, followed the advice of the pilot, of the owner of the ship, which I suppose would seem like wise, but Paul had some kind of insight, obviously, from God. So they set off anyway on their journey, and a storm rises up, and they end up lost and not knowing where they are, and having to throw all different bits of the ship out to try and stay afloat. And then eventually in verse 20, they finally gave up hope of being saved. After the men had gone a long time without food, Paul stood up before them and said, men, you should have taken my advice not to sail from Crete. then you would have spared yourselves this damage and loss. But now I urge you to keep up your courage, because not one of you will be lost. Last night an angel of the God whose I am, and whom I serve, stood beside me and said, "Do not be afraid, Paul. You must stand trial before Caesar, and God has graciously given you the lives of all who sail with you. So keep up your courage, for I have faith in God that it will happen just as he told me. Nevertheless, we must run aground on some island." So they end up in a dangerous place, getting closer and closer to the shore, taking soundings and knowing that they're going to basically crash on a rock. And then down to verse 42, the soldiers plan to kill the prisoners. So the Romans decide, right, we better kill the prisoners, because they had to guard prisoners to death, basically. So if they let prisoners escape, they themselves would be in danger of being put to death for having failed in their mission. But in verse 43 it says, the centurion wanted to spare Paul's life and kept them from carrying out their plan. He ordered those who could swim to jump overboard and get to land. The rest were to get there on planks or pieces of the ship. In this way everyone reached land in safety. So I hope you were following, but it's quite a series of events, isn't it? Seems a rather unfortunate series of events, actually. And Paul goes through all sorts of difficulties. So he is attacked, he's accused falsely, he's treated harshly, there's a plot against him, people want to kill him. He's then put before a judge who is unjust and just lets him be in prison for a couple of years. Then he ends up finally coming to trial, and then he's sent off to Rome. But ends up in a shipwreck and ends up landing on an island. And what we didn't read actually is that when he finally got onto the island and they're kind of recovering, then he gets bitten by a snake. So you couldn't really get much of a worse scenario, could you? It's like some kind of sick joke. But this is what happens to the Apostle Paul, of all people. And sometimes when we're thinking of the apostles and how we'd like to live our life somewhat like them, we maybe think of the song, something like Peter and John went to pray, they met a lame man on the way, and then they said, "Oh, we don't have silver and gold, but get up and walk." Or they might think of Peter's handkerchiefs, which, when they were prayed over, people took them and people were healed. But what's easy to forget is just how much difficulty the apostles went through and the early Christians. I should have actually persevered with it. I was trying to think of some kind of lyrics to a song or something. Or like, Paul, he had a bad day. I can't really think of the rest of it.
Lost his peace on the way.
His ship was wrecked. He was bitten by a snake. And I don't know. Everybody thought he was cursed. So, we should maybe write that song. But if anything, I was thinking about a phrase that might sum up these chapters, and that was that God calls us to be witnesses in every circumstance. So God calls us to be witnesses in every circumstance. So despite all that's happening to Paul and all these difficulties, he continues to witness and to share about Jesus, because he knows that he has a quality of relationship with God through Jesus that is more important than all these things, all these external things, and all these external difficulties and situations. And so he goes on to, when he's attacked, he doesn't attack back people, but he kind of shows understanding of their situation and then points them to Christ and actually tells them God wants to save you. When he's accused, he's not lashing back, but he kind of explains himself. When he's been treated unjustly by the governor, Felix, and he's kind of left in prison for 2 years, and his life's kind of rotting away. Every so often Felix will bring him out to kind of question him, and rather than get bitter, Paul talks to him and shares with him about Jesus time and again, even though the guy basically continues to misuse and abuse him and send him back to the prison. And then when he's before these people that have authority to save him, he just tells them about how they can be saved by God. And similarly, when he finally ends up on the boat on the way to Rome and their soldiers are taking him there, he goes out his way to be kind to them. And there's one point where I didn't read, when some of the sailors are going to try and escape off in the lifeboats, and he sort of tells the Romans, because he doesn't want them to get killed, so he actually saves their lives as well, in a sense. So he loves his enemies, and those who would be perceived to be his enemies. So he's called a liar, he's called a troublemaker, he's mocked as insane. Someone says to him, "Oh, you're insane with all your learning." And his advice is disregarded. But still, he chooses to witness about Jesus. I wonder if we would continue to witness to Jesus if we went through what Paul went through, all those kind of difficulties. But that, of course, is what we're called to do. In Matthew 28, Jesus says, "Go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you." And then Luke 9:23 says, "Deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me." Although I left out a word there on purpose, does anybody know what it might have been? Deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me. Daily. Yeah, take up your cross daily. And interestingly, a cross is we can sort of just get used to it. It's a piece of jewellery, can't we? Just hanging around our neck. But it's a symbol of struggle and suffering. And so Jesus is saying you have to take up your cross. And really, you see that in Paul's life. He goes through all sorts of difficulties. He's accused, he's beaten, and many of it, things that happened to him, read really similar to what happened to Jesus, if you think about it. There was the people that said to him, "Oh, just kill him," and they were all like shouting and chanting, "Kill him, putting him to death." He's passed back and forth between different courts, just as Jesus was. So, as followers of Jesus, Jesus warns us and says to us, actually, you are going to have a cross to bear at times. And that's just part of life. But at the same time, there's a promise and hope of salvation and of life with Jesus and of Him being with us each day. I was thinking about some of our kind of heroes in the faith. And one of them, as you know, I mentioned, was Jackie Pullinger, who was a woman who went away to Hong Kong, which is in the news at the moment. But she went away to a part of Hong Kong which was called the Walled City. And it was called that because it was like an old castle type thing that was technically not under the control of the government in Hong Kong. So instead it became like this kind of huge slum, and it was like built up miles in the air of all these huts perched on top of it. Well, not miles, but at great height in the air, all these huts perched on top of each other. And people would kind of walk between all the different huts by planks, or bits of cardboard or whatever that they'd kind of lay between them all. And it's easy to talk about Jackie Pullinger and all the stories of how people's lives were transformed and all the amazing things that happened. And the way she was able to talk of provision and see changes in people's lives. But at the same time, she was living in a slum, if you think about it. And she kind of went there and she would no doubt be surrounded by filth and dirt. And at times people would take advantage of her. She would maybe give them money and they would just run off with it. And she was just trying to help them. So that's the kind of part of people's stories you sometimes forget about. As we think about people who are inspiring the faith, often they go through a lot of difficulty and trials and struggles. And so there is also an encouragement, however, in looking through this part of Paul's life. And maybe you might be going through some kind of difficulties or trials, and you're thinking, you can think to yourself at times, God, why are you putting me in this place? Why is this happening? And I'm sure Paul would have had thoughts like that when he was arrested and taken off to prison. And then instead of actually being judged, he's just left there, and he's there for 2 years, just with no kind of end in sight necessarily, unjustly stuck there. He may well have been crying out to God and saying, God, why am I here? Like, what have you put me here for? I thought I was to be an apostle and go and share about Jesus with people, and here I am, I'm just stuck in prison. Like, sometimes it's easy for us to see the end of the story and to forget what it must have been like for some of these people as they went through these difficulties. Or as the boat was beginning to sink and it was all dark and there's a storm and they're going to have to end up in the water and hope that they make it to land. It would have been a very frightful and fearful experience. And we see the fact that they landed on the beach, but before that happened, he could well have been thinking, is this it? And so it's good to remember that when we have these thoughts, that the people in the Bible probably had those same thoughts, but they had persevered through, and they trusted, and they listened to God for when He spoke, which, although it seems like it's like every page God speaks to them, as you notice that 2 years passed in one verse, so time passes for those people too, and they have to wrestle with that. So there's that encouragement to us to see their example and trusting God that He'll take us through difficulties, but also that God calls us to be a witness even in the difficulties. When Paul was in the prison, he was periodically taken to see the governor, and each time he would talk with him and actually share about Jesus, and he'd say, look, Felix, God wants to save you. He wants you to know Him and to come into a relationship with Him. And Felix would probably just dismiss him or sneer or send him away. But each time Paul continued to witness to him, to share the good news of Jesus. And you see that time and time again in all the situations that he's in. He's ready to share, and he's ready to speak out and to share good news. So witness can be verbal. It can be something that we actually speak out to people and share with them. But it can also be in deed as well. So you witness by letting your character express itself in actions. And you see that in these passages in Paul's life. He possibly has one slip up where he, although he might well be right, he calls the high priest a whitewashed tomb. But then he goes on to say, all right, yeah, I shouldn't have said that. So he was humble enough to apologise. But most of the rest of the time he manages to stay quite calm. And although people are shouting at him or attacking him, he responds with kindness, and responds with good character. He really shows the fruit of the Spirit and the way that he acts. And so much so that even the soldiers who guarding him, they start to respect him. And then we saw that at the end of the storm, the centurion Julius wants to save Paul's life because he respects him. So there's a witness that Paul shares constantly throughout these passages, even despite the difficulties. And it's in the words that he speaks and shares with people, but also in the way that he deals with them and deals with different situations. He's kind of kind, he's respectful, and he's encouraging to people, despite his own circumstances. And that's, I suppose, a challenge for us. Will we continue each day to be ready, whatever circumstance we're in, to share the good news of Jesus? Will we be ready, even when we're going through difficulties, to react in the right way, to still show the fruit of the Spirit? Because I think witnessing to people by sharing good news needs to be backed up by character, doesn't it? No one's going to listen to someone who says, God has saved me and given me a new life and filled me with love, if they've kind of got their hands around their throat, like banging them and saying, like just agree with me, Phil, trying to beat them into submission. But if they're actually kind and compassionate as they're sharing that, and the person can see God at work in their life, then it is obviously much more of a witness, isn't it? And just to close, I remember I've mentioned a few times a pastor that I met one time who was he's pastor of a church in London, and it was a large church, a Hispanic church, and he would be someone that would preach regularly and shared with people a lot the good news of Jesus. And the church grew a lot, actually. I think it grew from about 30 people to a few thousand over about 5 or 6 years. But I remember spending some time with him, and the thing that really was striking about him, and more than his ability to preach or anything that he said, was just his character, and his kindness, and his gentleness. I don't know if you've ever read any books like Wind in the Willows, something like that, where you have this kind of wise old badger.
Yeah.
This guy was just a bit like the wise old badger. He may well have been a bit kind of bumbling, he wasn't necessarily the most clear speaker, actually. And he kind of hobbled around. But he just had such a beautiful character that people believed what he said. And so that's a challenge for us this morning. As we live our lives, as we go through different difficulties, will we continue to trust in God? Being aware, actually, that He promises to be with us and to make all things right in the end. But He does also say that in this world you'll have difficulties. And that's part of what it is to be a Christian. But we're called still to witness to the good news in both our words, as Paul did, and also in our character and our deeds. Shall we pray together? Lord, we thank you for the example of Paul, whose life we've been following for a couple of months. And Lord, we don't want to just look at all the high points in Paul's life and say, oh, I wish that happened in my life. We also want to be aware of all the difficulties that Paul went through and all the trials and tribulations. And Lord, we thank you that even in the midst of all those, he spoke of you. Even when he was attacked, he would speak of peace. Even when people rejected him, he would speak of reconciliation. Even when other people imprisoned him and treated him wrongly, he would no doubt share, as Jesus had taught, to love your enemies. And Lord, again and again, despite his struggles and difficulties, he strove to remain of good character, to be kind and considerate, and when he slipped up, he apologised. So Lord, help each of us to also do the same. Help us to be ready no matter what we're going through, Lord, to speak of you and also to continue to love and be kind to others. And Lord, we ask you that you would help us by your Spirit. It's only by close relationship with you that this is possible. And so, Lord, this morning we bow before you and we just bow our hearts and our spirit. And Lord, we cry out to you, Lord, would you come afresh into our lives? And Lord, I think of even Paul in the passage that we read, and when you spoke to them and said that they would ultimately be rescued from the shipwreck, still they had to go and crash into the rocks and run aground. And Lord, some of us might be going through difficulties and that may continue. But Lord, help us to trust in you. Help us to submit to you. And Lord, we really just ask that you, by your grace, would come upon us afresh. Fill our minds, fill our hearts. Let us know your love and your empowering. And Lord, we ask that in all we do, we would honour you by our words and our actions. And Lord, we just also pledge our trust in you afresh. And we hold on in hope, because we know that although this world at the moment is marred and disturbed and broken by sin, you will make everything right, and you will bring full healing and wholeness, and there will be a new creation. So Lord, we trust you and we look forward to that. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's finish by singing together. I'm going to sing